Hi folks, this is Vicky at patternprincess.com. Today I wanted to show you how to do the invisible join. I actually had done a different video on this early on in my days of doing crochet tutorials, and some folks wanted me to redo it and try and get a more clear video tutorial. So as you can see, these here, all of the blocks, are actually sewn together. They're just matched up straight. There are no crochet stitches in between these blocks. And the centers, see how nice the center here looks? The centers come together pretty well. They line up pretty nice. They look a little bit more like you've sewn them together for, here's a nice looking one. If you were a quilter, you would like nice corners like this. So let me show you how I achieved this. And by the way, on this here, I couldn't be positive, but I'm assuming, yep, I used the light gray to sew this one in. And you can't see it on the dark gray. You see that? How you can, it's very hard to see. I'm going to purposely use a color that's a little bit off, just so we can see if we can tell where it is. So this here, on your squares, once you complete your granny square, if I turn it this way, you can see that my granny square kind of has, you can kind of see these lines, these ridges. If I turn it over, this is kind of like the right side. The other side doesn't look as nice. This is, so I consider this to be the back side, this to be the right side. Okay, so here's one square, and the exact same square. This is just a regular, classic, basic granny square, and this is 6 rounds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds around. Nothing special. 3 chain stitches in each corner, and then 1 chain stitch between each one of the clusters of 3. I also have video tutorial on how to crochet the granny square as well. So again, this one here, this one is a light blue in the gray. This is the front side, and this is what I would consider to be the back side. See that? So what I do is I join the front sides together. Okay. I'm going to join them together, and I just make sure, if you just make sure you put your fingers in the holes here, you can see that you can see right through. If I kind of stretch this one a little bit to make sure it lines up, but you can see the holes right here, how they're lining up. I'm not worried about the rest of it yet, but you see how even the holes here line up? They're lining up. So you can easily see on this particular square where you need to be, okay? So what I do is I start here in the corner. On my thread, I have a yarn needle, and I have my yarn, and I've used this light blue so we can see it, you know, you'll be able to see how much you can really see on here. Normally, I would have used the same color gray and you won't be able to see it, okay? But I'm purposely wanting you to see it. I have a very long, probably about 36 inches of yarn here, because I don't want to do just this one square. I want to be able to do maybe up a side or continue on a little bit if I had a couple rows together. And then I'll also show you how I do when I get to the corner, there's a special thing I kind of go around to make sure that the corners are nice and secure too. So when I start, I hold them together. So when I start, I'm really working inside of the top chains of the loops. You know, you got your top 2 chains. I'm not going across this way. I'm working inside of, let me show you. Get it up close. Inside of here, when I put my stitch in, when you're going to see it down here a little bit, I go through the 1 chain space and go up and through to the next. But then I might skip a couple, like skip 1 or so, and then I'm going to do the next, but I'm going to be going across when I do that to the next square. But when I work in here, I'm working like underneath that bar that's created. You see that? So I'm going to hold these together, matching up the corners, matching up my stitches. And so all I do is I'll start here and bring my yarn through, and I still leave, I don't know, this is probably about a 6-inch tail, because I'm going to want to weave this in at the end to make this nice and secure, okay? Now I'm going to go across to that same stitch that's on this side. I'm going to go across to it, and then I'm going to go through that bar. and I'm going to alternate, and I'm going to leave a little bit loose to be because if I pull this tight right now, I'd pull my yarn right out. So now I'm going to go across to the other side, and especially on the corners, I kind of go every other one, but I start to like have a little bit, sometimes like I said, I'll skip a stitch or two, because you don't have to catch every single one. So like I'm not going to do this one here, but I'm going to do right here. I would normally go into this one. I'm going to go into the next one. So we go in that bar area right here and bring it back through. Okay, now I'm going to skip this one. I'll go to the next one, because you don't want too much space in between, because then you're going to have gaps. But I don't want it really close either, because then it's hard to pull, and I'm going to show you what I mean by pulling in just a second. So I'm going to skip this one here, because we went through this one, so I'm going to skip this bar, and I'm going to go to this bar. And it's okay if you end up going through some yarn, that just makes it more secure, and I'm going to do like 2 more. So I'll skip this one that could have been next. So I'm just kind of every other one on each side, and I'm going from side to side. And it doesn't want to go in there. There you go. And sometimes it doesn't want to go in. That's okay. It'll eventually get there. But in a second here, as soon as I get one more done, I am going to give this a little tug, and you will see, because right now you can see the stitches, right? You can kind of see the weave back and forth. I'm going to stop a second and have you look. See that? You can see where I've weaved back and forth. So now I'm going to hold this string here, and I'm just going to give this a little tug. But you don't want to get too far along. If I got to the halfway point and tried to do this, these stitches here wouldn't snug up. You'd have a really tight spot up here and nothing back here. So every few stitches, I give this a little snug. Now, even with this light blue, it is really hard to see. You can see it in areas. You can see it. But now if you did this in the same color, it would look just fine. So now I have my needle here, and I just continue on. See this? I just continue on, going up the side. I'll do some more. I find it very relaxing to do this. It doesn't take too long to get a whole blanket sewn together like this. And you can, if you run out of yarn, you just start another one. And make sure that you weave in your ends, just like you would when you weave in your ends when you're normally crocheting. Same concept, same thing. I use my same needle here. And so I'll do a couple more. See how fast this is really kind of starting to go? It doesn't take too long. I'm already almost halfway through this one square. And then I'll show you when I get to the corner and you join squares. It's really nice when you have, when you've done this in strips, and then you just have to go the other way. I'm going to pull it now. See, that pulls it tight. Now just for the heck of it, I'm almost done. I'll finish to here, but I just wanted to pull this apart. This is how it looks. See, this is the right side together. Look, this is how it looks. You really cannot see the stitches. A little bit, I can see here, here, but even in the light blue, it's very hard to see. And look at how nice that lays together, okay? So I'm gonna go right to the end here, and then I'm gonna join another one, and then I'll show you what I do in the corner, okay? Okay, I have finished my row. I've joined this together already. And you can see where you're gonna say, oh gosh, it's not right to the end. When I go ahead and I weave this one in, this yarn end, I would make sure that I caught that and got that right exact square. Same with this. So let's say this one here, I want to add another square to, okay? So again, we had the right sides together. You're looking, here's the right sides, here's the back side. So I'm kind of working with the right sides together. I just think it looks prettier, because then you have a really nice flat spot here in the front. And again, you can't really see, you can see a little bit of peaks, but I could leave this light blue in here and leave this just like this, and you'd have to know it was there. And then this is the back side. So the back side has a little bit of a ridge, not much, but that's how the back side, each round around kind of has a little bit of a ridge. So it kind of matches. So this is the front side. So let's join a square. So let's say we're going to join a square here. Okay. So again, we just match up our spots. And I'm going to turn this so that I can, here we go. When I join it, so I'm already on this square here. That's why I put my square over here to start with. if I had my hook over here, then I would probably join this over here. But again, right sides together. I'm going to, in the middle stitch, I'm going to insert the hook, pull through. All right. There. Now let's say I want to join one more. Okay. So again, right side, back side. This is the right side. All right. Now I'm over here on this one here. I'm going to jump over to this one and go into the, I know I'm sticking the needle in here with my left hand now. I'm going to go into that middle stitch. Just going to hold it a second. Then I'm going to go back in. So I'm kind of, all four of them are lined up. They're all joined here. Now this was that stitch that I had before. These are the two stitches. I'm going back through the two stitch areas that I just worked in those previous squares. Okay. I'm going back through there. This makes it a little bit sturdy. And now I'm going to pull a little bit snug. That snugs it all up. Okay. So now, since all four corners are joined, now what I can continue to do, whoopsies, I had to knock my camera, I'm sorry. So they're all four joined in this center. You see how nice that center is lined up? See what I did there? But now I could either continue up this side on both of them or this side. But since I'm sewing here, I'm going to continue that way. So these two sides, I'll join those. Like I'm going to go, one is vertical and one's horizontal. I'm going to keep going vertically. Then when I come back, I just have to do all the horizontal rows. And when I get horizontal, I actually take the time to go back through and do like one more little circle of the yarn, just because it makes it sturdier. So remember, we had right sides together. So I'm going to put the right sides together, get my yarn out of the way. And now, I'm right-handed here, so we have to continue on. So now it's just a continuation of what we just had. Get our blocks lined up. Okay, you see that? Here's where I was before. Here's where I am now. Now I'm going to continue on sewing up the side. Okay, and so now I'm just going to continue going. I'm over here, so now I'm going to just put a stitch over here. And then when you're done, try and leave about a 6-inch tail or so, and then you go ahead and you weave that in. And then you will have your granny squares all sewn together, and they're ready to put on a pretty border. So I hope that this helps you have a little confidence and learn a new way of putting your granny squares together. There's a number of different ways that folks use. This just happens to be the way that I had used in the series of 6 granny squares that I did, the granny square blankets, the baby blankets. This is the method I used on every single one of those. So again, now I have enough here that I have sewn together back and forth. So I'm going to give it a little tug. Okay, there's my tug. And it snugs it all up. And I'm going to open it again. See how nice that's starting to look? And you can't even tell that I used that blue yarn. Oh, you can maybe see a little smidge there too. So that's how we do the invisible join. This seam is joined, this one is not yet. And I would continue going across. So I hope that you try this yourself as well. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I will also have a link to the granny square blankets in case you're interested in doing those for yourself. But have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching.